It is podcast time once again here at The Win in Las Vegas, Nevada, live from Blue Wire Studios. It is episode 618 of The O Show. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel at Jack O'Hara TV. Mrs. Hayley, thanks so much for joining the show. It's Mrs., right?
Yes,
Mrs.
sir.
Hayley, we were talking like right in our production room that I followed your husband, Don Hayley, for like a long time. The second he walked in, I saw him. I'm like, I know that guy. I've seen that guy before. And here you are, his lovely wife. Thanks so much for coming on. It's her second video podcast ever,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Are you nervous?
I am excited.
You're excited?
Yeah.
You're an NLP master coach, right?
Yeah. So Neuro-Linguistic master coach and trainer, and also social media coach. And yeah.
Yeah, you want to create the lifestyle that, you were born to have, right?
Right.
Which is very cool. That's why I wanted to have you on today. I'm glad we were able to finally, after weeks of, connecting, we were able to
Yes.
come in and do the show today. So tell me a little bit more about that side. Like, how'd you get into that? Why'd you want to get into it? Like, what was kind of the thing that really got you passionate about that?
Yeah. So I am originally born and raised in Russia, and I came to US when I was 18 for my university degree. And I fell in love with America. It's truly a land of opportunity, I believe. And I have been reading books on self-development. I have heard, I've been watching different YouTube videos. And I just fell in love with the process of working on yourself and uncovering, different layers of yourself and love for yourself too, because I have been through an interesting journey in Russia. And when I came here, I really learned to accept myself. And I just love to show in others also that they could do that. And that's how I got into the whole field of actually becoming certified in that. And part of that is actually my husband, Don Hayley, who introduced me to NLP. And we both are trained and certified in that.
So tell me a little bit more about it. I'm going to keep referring to it as NLP because,
Yeah, 100%.
I'll say like neuro.
Yeah, just
what
go
is
with
it?
NLP.
Yeah.
Yeah, Neuro-Linguistic programming. So basically, Neuro-Linguistic programming. Neuro is our neurology. Linguistic is the language that we use that when we communicate with ourselves and others. And in combining with that, your emotions and your words, they create your physiology, your behavior. So it's like a manual to your brain to understand how our mind works and how we create reality ourselves.
It's so great to understand all of that stuff, even in moments where you don't understand it at all, which happen on a daily basis, right?
Yeah, I would say it is a pretty complex concept, but it just really comes down to our programming and what we have been programmed since we're born, and the ability to unlearn those patterns and being able to create what you want in order for you to prosper.
So what were your personal experiences then when you realized like, oh, I'm not being the best version of myself right now, and how do I get there and continue to monitor it so I don't fall back into those repeated patterns that make you not the best version of yourself?
Right. So the very first step for me was awareness of actually becoming aware of my own patterns or cycles of thoughts, behaviors, situations that would just occur in different scenarios, but it would pretty much be the same lesson. And for me was healing my past negative emotions that have been stuck there for a long time, and I didn't even know it, but then they would manifest in different situations. And again, my husband Don has been my personal coach before we started dating. So that was a huge uncovering for me, just what I haven't healed and I just suppressed. So the very first step for me was just becoming aware of it, and then there's a lot of processes that you can utilize to actually let go, and then new opportunities arise, and new people come to your life, and always great experiences.
So Don said before that you love telling the story of how you guys met. What is the story of your guys' relationship and how that kind of culminated?
Yeah. So I guess about 5-6 years ago, I lived in Tampa for most of my life in America, and I was throwing an event there, entrepreneurial event, and we were just inviting lots of different speakers from different expertise. And one of our speakers was Nick Santonastasso. I know you might be familiar with him, but Don was on his team, and he was one of the co-founders of the business. And that was our initial contact. That's how we've met. And then those guys were extremely successful. They've partnered with Tony Robbins, and they were traveling the world and doing all this motivational stuff. And I was extremely interested in that. And so few months later, I saw Don posted something on his story about dropping a free self-development program for a month. And then basically, if you like it, then you can sign up. And I'm like, okay, cool. I actually have never invested in personal development coach. Like, I've been reading a lot. I've been talking to many great people, but I never actually invested in it. And I was like, I'm just going to try it out. So he had an application process where I had to answer a few questions and write like an essay. And so I did, and I was accepted as one of his students. And so it was about 6 or 7 months of coaching. I ended up signing up, and it was strictly professional. Like, there was no flirtatious energy or anything like that. It was strictly directed at me and my growth and evolution, I guess. And so after that, I decided to come to Vegas for like maybe my second time ever, and I never left.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a little bit more. When I came, again, came to see him as a coach, and I knew Nick and all the other guys, so it wasn't anything like that. But then our first time at a dinner that we went with friends, we were sitting at the bar, and basically, because he knew me already so much, like, he knows everything about me. And for me, it was also this experience where I never was really vulnerable to other men, because I just wanted to show the best sides of me. And the coaching with him was just truly me opening up myself. And so we're sitting at dinner, and then he just straight up told me that here of everything I've manifested. And I went to Date with Destiny, Tony Robbins, a year ago, and outlined everything that I want in my partner. And I checked every box, and he showed me the board, and I'm like, yep, that's right.
It's crazy. There's so many people out there that don't really have like a checklist, unless they went through like certain bad experiences to where they finally sat down and are like, all right, what do I specifically want in a spouse?
Right. And to be honest with you, I have not really done that either. But when I started to learn about how we project our own reality, is when I'm like, okay, what do I want? And not specifically how the man looks, but like, how do I want to feel? What's important to me when it comes to relationships. So yeah, extremely important when you find out what that is. And then if you're aligned with your behaviors and with who you are, then you're going to attract that. And that's what happened with us.
That's great. Wow. You dated one of your students, Don. Interesting. I mean, that's really cool that it kind of like manifested, years later.
Yeah.
You always want the story, I feel like. Like when you get married, you want to be able to tell people that story. There's so many people that are going to be like, oh, we met on Bumble. Like for me as a storyteller, that just doesn't sit right with me,
Yeah. I mean, I never had an intention
Yeah.
to, but that's just how it unfolded. And I was just like, wow, that's actually a really beautiful story,
Mhm.
And I learned so much about just relationship building. And when we went through this process of coaching, where I was extremely open, extremely honest with myself and with him, it's just like, whenever people are dating, that's what they should be talking about, like, what do they want? And, just becoming vulnerable, really, because that's when you are able to connect with the person on another level. And then when that person accepts you as you are and actually love all those points about you, to me, that is true love.
Oh, yeah. It's like you find someone that actually brings out the real side of you. Like there's some people out there that may have not even seen the real side of themselves yet until they meet the right person that they didn't think they were ever going to meet.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. So for me, it was just like, wow, I don't have to pretend anymore. Like, I just can be myself, and he loves it, and I love it.
That's crazy. Because again, like there's so many people out there that you don't really realize how you feel about someone until you like meet that right person. It's like a completely different feeling. I feel like I'm speaking from no experience at all, ladies and gentlemen, but obviously you have felt that before.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think makes it different? Like, what's the difference in feeling?
Between what
Like,
and what?
obviously, like, I don't know how, I don't want to get too personal with you, but like people that you've dated in the past compared to the feeling that you get when you meet Don and you develop that relationship.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to my own self like realization to a certain extent. Um, so before it was just I would not want to look inwards. I would always look outwards and figuring out what's wrong with them
Hmm.
versus me looking inward and be like, okay, this is something that has been happening for a long time and I probably have to heal this or not have to, but probably should work on this, and see what's causing this type of feelings. So I was just projecting something that hasn't been healed. So there is nothing wrong with other person. It's just how I view myself
Hmm.
at that point. And yeah.
What was like the biggest insecurity for you then in that sense?
Um I'll tell you. Especially when it came to the relationships, I had this limiting belief that I could not be in successful relationships and have a business. Like for me, it was just they
No
cannot come
balance.
together.
Yeah.
Like I'm either super successful and I'm single, or I'm in a loving relationships and have an amazing family, and that's just it. I'm just a at home stay mom, which I cannot really see that yet for
Hmm.
myself. So that was the biggest one, and that was just my own ceiling that I had. And then when I was training in neuro-linguistic programming, I realized a lot of my programs that run through my head unconsciously, and that was one of them. And that was one of the first things that I was actually consciously deciding, okay, I'm going to remove that programming. I can have it all. You can have it all. Everyone can have it. It's just the matter of accepting that as a reality for yourself.
Mm. And it's such a tough thing mentally to overcome, especially like if you find someone later on in life. It's difficult to kind of rework your brain to kind of let go of those little things that bother you.
Yeah, yeah. But I believe evolution is never ending. You're always going to uncover something more and more. And for me, like one of the things is breath work, which I'm
Mm.
sure you're familiar with from Tori Gordon or others. A great way to become aware of what are the some of the emotions, because some people don't want to get too mental and go into it and see like what are my programs. So one of the ways for sure is breath work, is to just become aware what has been stuck and where, because we hold energy within us.
Hmm.
It doesn't get destroyed, it only gets transformed. And so through breath work, it's a great way to just release things and on unconscious level.
How was the Elevate event a few weeks back that you and Tori hosted?
Oh, it has been great. It was great. It was amazing.
Like, how many people showed up? What was kind of the environment there?
It was a pretty intimate event. It was only about 10 to 12 people
Which is what
there.
you want. You
Yeah,
don't want
that's
it to
what
be
we
too
wanted,
crazy.
because that was our first time together putting this up, and we just wanted to get feedback. We just wanted to see how we flow together, like what people are saying, and the space was new to us. So, I mean, it went great beyond what I've imagined.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to creating more experiences like that.
And are you guys trying to go in that direction, like building more events like that?
Yes, I think we will be creating another event like that. We just haven't really finalized the details yet, but we will.
Wow. I mean, that's so very interesting to me. Very interesting and cool to have events like that and surround yourself with people who kind of are showing up hoping that they have the similar mindset and they're like-minded with the people that they're surrounding themselves with. Because I know you've been through it, I've been through it, hundreds of people have been through it where like they had to cut off certain people in their lives that just they loved, it made sense why they were friends for such a long time, but it's like you're going this way, I'm going this way. It doesn't make sense for us to spend time together anymore.
For sure. And that one of the biggest things that I think it takes for you to evolve is analyze who are you surrounded with? What kind of conversations are you having with those people? I had to do it a few times where I had to make conscious decisions. Okay, those conversations are not serving me.
Hmm.
Like, I don't like to gossip. I don't like to put my energy out there. So I had to cut certain people, which is great. So it's a big one. Also, I know a lot of people are struggling with their family, not being on the same level, or like bringing them down when they have entrepreneurial ideas and things like that. So, and I get that like question asked, like, how can we can't cut our family? And 100% you can't, or you can if you want to, but there is strategy that you can use. Just don't talk about certain things. Don't spend too much time there. Like, have a certain strategy in place when it comes to this. And because you want people bring the best out of you, not triggering you.
Mm-hmm. No, it's so difficult. I mean, you mentioned it right there. I think at the end of the day, you could do whatever you want. Like some people say, they can't cut their family off. Yeah, you can. You can really do whatever you want, but at the same time, it's very difficult because they support you. Like they have your best interest in mind,
Right.
but in their head, what you're doing doesn't
Yeah.
make sense.
I mean,
They
they
want you to be
love
safe.
you.
They want you to be safe at the end
They
of the
want
day.
you to be safe, and they love you. And one of the things that I have to overcome is understand that my family, my dad and my mom they grew up in a completely different environment. There's a lot of stress, a lot of fear. So they have probably traumas that they haven't healed yet. So I can't judge them. I can just accept for who they are, and I'm forever grateful.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Did you have any specific friendships? I'll say friendships growing up that you're like still loosely in touch with, but you just knew that they weren't gonna benefit you, and you guys had like a mutual understanding of that. Because I honestly find that to be the most stressful thing in anybody's life is people that you do care about, but it's just like we should not be around each other all the time.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, and you don't want to go too deep into it.
I mean, not really. I
Yeah.
mean, we can if you want, but it just has to happen. And I mean, we're still good, but we just don't spend as much time together.
Who's someone that's reached out to you who's had difficulty kind of rewiring their brain that you kind of like stood out among the rest of the people that you've worked with?
With an issue?
Yeah.
Let me think. Well, definitely time spending with like friends, and that they want to grow, they want to get out of their comfort zone, but everybody else is saying no, you should just be here, don't go there. Like, how do I go about these things? So that's something that I got asked, quite a few times. And because I had to deal with it, I've developed my own strategies that didn't hurt anybody, but just communicate in a way that explains them, hey, I am working on this, and I just need to, put my energy into creating something that whatever I'm creating. And that's just understandable. If those people are really there for you and want to see you succeed, they will know, they'll have no problem with that.
Yeah. Everybody's so different too. I'm curious to know how you kind of not get inside people's brains and kind of figure out and navigate how to get them out of those like mental ruts, because everybody's brain is just wired differently. So I'm curious as to how easy or difficult it is trying to get inside someone's brain and figuring out that thing that's holding them back in a sense.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like a huge part of NLP is identifying the language patterns of a person speaking. And just by listening to them, you can find out what kind of limiting beliefs they have. You can find out whether they're at cause or at effect. If you're familiar with that saying, is basically you're always at cause pretty much. But people like to be, oh no, this has affected me, or this made me angry. And so they're not in control. So you can kind of find out where they're at, whether they're in victim mentality or they're responsible for every single thing that happens in their life. Also, the news, you can see how they're communicating with us through literally using hypnotic patterns where they get people in trance and then they plant the seeds while you don't even know it. So that was extremely fun to witness. And just kind of like having that, no, it's not going in my unconscious mind,
Yeah.
like the movies and things like that. There's so much programming going on. And, that's a great way to kind of identify what's happening just through language. And then, of course, like if we work together as a client, there is certain process in place where we go into your personal history and, we talk about all the deep stuff, and then
Yeah.
you uncover a lot more.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that are playing the victim card. They don't even realize it. Like
Mm-hmm.
their problems like aren't even problems. Like
Right.
how many people out there like when you finally realize that like, oh, my life's all right. You know, like the problems you had were not that serious. You know, I had this conversation the other day with someone where it's like there's a lot like everything that you do in life, all the actions you take are leading you to the either the life you want, the life you don't want, the life that's going to be built for you, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
on the other hand, it's like we're just kind of like a ball in space. At the end of the day, none of this matters at all. But at the same time, you got to come together and kind of find that median of like what's really important to you, and at the same time, chill out a little bit. You know, not
Yes.
everything's that bad, especially if you have good people around you.
100%. And I love that reference that you made about being on a rock or in a ball,
Hmm.
because that's what it is, you know? So whenever I'm going through something tough, or hard, just like zoom out and see how this specific moment really affects your entire life.
Yeah.
Just get over it.
Like, at the end of the day, unfortunately, we're all going to be dead one day. You know, it's just inevitable that you need to get over the little things.
Right.
Especially like for like me and you right now, like we shouldn't have any problems. Like we're here now, we're recording in this beautiful studio. You're living in one of arguably the nicest spots in the country in Nevada. You know, you really don't have much to complain about. It's about getting over those little things that your brain channels and triggers that makes you think like, oh, like why me?
Exactly. And this why me mentality is you could reframe that is what is it doing for me? Like what is the lesson that I am getting? So that's something I trained myself to ask myself a question whenever I'm going through a problem or a difficulty in the relationship with someone. I always ask myself, what is this lesson? Like, what is it doing for me? And I just extract the positive side of it. I don't go into the negative.
What was kind of a specific moment where it's like your brain was almost telling you like, oh, this sucks. I shouldn't be in this position. Why am I here right now? And then you kind of figured out like in the moment, like stop myself. Let me take this. Like this is I'm really grateful for this moment right here. Like, oh, like I can make the most out of this situation right here.
I would say for sure getting married and being in a committed, serious relationship has put me to learn a lot about myself and just, like I said, looking more inwards versus figuring out what's wrong with another person. So, and for me, the big lesson was, still is being vulnerable with how I feel to myself first and then to another person. And so whenever there is a disagreement or something like that, I just look within myself and I'm like, what is this teaching me right now? Okay, being vulnerable because the other person truly wants to see where you're coming from and ultimately is there to build you up. So it's just overcoming that your ego and just seeing what is this teaching me right now, and then having enough compassion for another person to sit down and just talk through it and then move on.
Do you believe that everyone in the world has an ego on some level? Because
I
when you hear
mean,
the word ego, you just think like the toxic side of it of someone just being
no,
arrogant.
it's there to like it's essential to that's what making you feel safe in your identity that you are who you are, but it's just a dance with it, and certainly I had to, dance with it and just uncover that there's only love, really. There's no competition. Just like you said, we're going to all go to same place at the end of the day. So what are you leaving behind? How do you make people feel is what I'm a lot more conscious about versus what can this person do for me is how can I make this person's day better today?
What do you think the difference is there when, like you just mentioned, like people either trying to get something out of somebody versus people who are like, how can I help you? How can I provide value from like the kindness in my heart? Because there's some people who learn that second aspect through experience of like knowing how it feels to be taken from or vice versa, right? Or some people are just born with that. They're like, how can I help? Like,
Yeah.
it's so good to see you. Or there's some people like, oh, nice to see you. I do this thing. Can you help me out with that? You know, it's completely different. And you're able to pick up on that vibe pretty quickly.
Yeah. I mean, coming to America, that was like a big cultural shock for me because everybody just likes to talk right away. Like, what do you do? Like, what are you good at? Like all these things. And where I'm coming from, if you're a person that I don't know, like, we're not going to just start talking out of nowhere. People are not really smiling at each other. So it's something that I had to learn is like come out of my comfort zone and, um, just talk with people. And I think there is definitely just different, I wouldn't say different types of people. It's like where they're at in their journey is different. And some people are just super transactional and they just want to know what can I get out of you? What can you get out of me? I don't know. I think there is a place and time for everything. And, I love to connect with people just who they are as a person, first of all, and later on we can talk about business. But I really want to know, like, who you are, like, what drives you. And yeah, like, how can I help you, you know?
Hmm. And I think it's such an easy thing for people to learn too. But there are people out there that you could just tell right off the bat, like, oh, I understand your vibe. I
Yeah.
understand if you're being genuine or if you're trying to get something out of me or you're just trying to like get your image and your name out there.
Yeah, and it's all about connection that you have because once you have a connection, you build rapport. You share something about you that is maybe vulnerable, and then the other person is feeling safe to, share their life with you. And so once you build that connection, everything becomes so much easier. Like even if you had an intention of doing business with that person, then it just becomes a lot easier because now you're like on the same level of connection personally. Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
Oh yeah, it's infectious too.
Mm-hmm.
Whether way you look at it, whether it's like negativity is infectious, positivity is infectious. Unfortunately, negativity seems to have the upper edge there for whatever reason. It's just easier to be negative than positive. It kind of goes hand in hand with like doing the hard thing results in a positive, but nobody really wants to do the hard thing. Like if you want to be in the best shape of your life, you're gonna have to go through a hellacious workout training regimen, right? 9 times out of 10, people don't want to do that, and then they're stuck feeling negative because they feel like crap, but they didn't put in the work, right? It's kind of like a give and take with everything when it
Yeah.
comes to something like that and with relationships.
Mm-hmm. And also because our brains are actually naturally wired to look for negatives for a threat. That's just how our brains have evolved, and that's because we've been, threatened by animals before and all these things. So like our brain has to feel like make us feel safe, so it identifies all the threats. And so right now we don't have those conditions anymore. We're safe in as an environment. However, we're still unconsciously our brain tend to pick up negative things. Like I read something about it, which was like, oh, I can relate to that. When you post something, a picture or a video on your Instagram, and then you have 100 comments, great comments, and then like, there's 2 or 3 just nasty comments, just like, oh, I hate you, like you're
Hmm.
horrible, and like you're gonna be thinking about those comments
Yeah.
versus the other ones. And I'm like, that's interesting. Like, what if, I kind of put myself in this shoes. I'm like, and just honest with myself. I'm like, I'll probably be thinking about that. Like, what did I do wrong? What did I say wrong? Just because we're naturally wired for that. But it's reprogramming yourself on picking up actually the best, and what you focus on, you create. Like, I truly believe that. And the more good will come then.
Have you ever been one of those people, like mentally, you just wanted to make a negative comment on someone's post? I don't understand those people that go out of their
Honestly,
way to
no,
spit negativity on someone that you probably don't even know.
no. I don't recall myself doing that.
I barely make comments, period. I don't like go out of my way.
Yeah.
Like, oh, if I know the person, I'll send them like a personal text, like, oh, congrats or something like that. But
Yeah, before I used to like trace a thought of me like judging someone, but like I said, I'm a lot more aware what's going through my mind.
mhm.
And so as soon as I have some kind of thought or of a judgment or something like that, I know there's something in me that I have to address. And so that's why like I'm super curious how I talk, what language do I use, what words do I use, because they possess a certain vibration to it. And so when I'm going out and stuff like that, I'm not that I make sure, I'm just already so used to actually just seeing the best. Like I like to give compliments to people, and it just feels great to give that
Exactly.
energy, and then it comes back to you always, one
Mhm.
way or another.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like you're just being you,
Hmm.
and eventually you'll find people in your life that resonates with, and those are the people that you're meant to surround yourself with. as opposed to going out of your way and saying something negative about someone over here or trying to impress someone over here, right? We've all been there too, where it's like, oh, I really want to vibe with this person, but it's like you're grasping for it. You're really going out of your way trying to figure out how do I get this person to like me,
Mm-hmm.
and that sucks, because like eventually you realize like, oh, like that's not for me.
Interesting.
Do you agree with that, or are you kind of just
I don't know. I was trying to recall if I had any
yeah,
experience like that where I'm like, I want this person
even
to
like
like
as like a
me.
little kid?
Mm. I would just gather attention. However,
Yeah.
when I'm a child and I need somebody, I don't know. That's probably how I did it. But no, this like now I just learned that being yourself thing like is the best thing that you could do. Just be authentic. Like just express yourself in authentic ways because I know that makes other people feel safe to express themselves. And that's what the connection is, just express yourself and live like your life
Hmm.
the way you want it. Go and dance if you feel like it. Go and sing if you're, in the club. Like I have the best time when I go out just because why not?
So would you consider yourself an extrovert or an introvert? Because to
Extrovert.
me, like from like deep in the soul, I guess I'd be introverted to a lot of people. Like if I go to a club, I ain't dancing. I'm the guy in the corner. Like, let's get out of here. Let's go somewhere a little bit more intimate. But I
Mm.
feel like at the end of the day, like you're gonna be like some people just like are almost afraid to be themselves. Like in that setting specifically, right? Like, oh, I could see myself dancing at a club, but then you're there and you're like kind of too shy too if you're introverted. Whereas if you're extroverted, like you're guns blazing basically. You're
Yeah.
doing whatever you want to do.
I would say I'm extroverted for sure. I'm gonna be dancing if the music is amazing. I love house music, so a bit and fun. I also love singing. I went to music school for like 12 years when I was in Russia, so like that's my passion. I love singing anywhere at any moment. So yeah, I'm definitely extroverted. But what I noticed though is when it's too much time, prolonged time of like an event that goes for a week, I definitely need to like recharge for at least 24 hours where I'm not really talking to anyone. I'm not on my phone at all. Just like, meditating, journaling, and all that great stuff
Yeah.
where I really like feel my battery again.
And that's a tough thing for people to learn too, where it's like, oh, I'm exhausted right now. I'm drained. I need to take the next 24 to 48 hours off and just like be with me, turn the phone off. There are so many times where I think about like how good it would feel just to throw this thing in the ocean and not see it for a year. Like where my brain would be, how
Wow.
fresh I'd feel.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. But it's so important to disconnect for sure. That's also why, like, I also run retreats for women. That we did a few of them in Utah, and that was the whole focus of it is just disconnect from really your reality and just focus on you, on loving you and taking care of you. So definitely so important, so important.
From a business perspective, to kind of shift gears from like social media consulting, right?
Hmm.
When it comes to your mission and how you want to help people, how does that translate when it comes to the social media aspect of things? Because in today's day and age, it doesn't matter what business you're in, right? Everybody's building their social media brand. How do you help people along that way?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're heading in a way of in a like we're heading in the technology is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm trying to say, and online presence is so important if you are a business owner or if you have a business that helps others, in any way. It's important to get out there because social media is one of the main ways how people learn about you without like really knowing you in person. And basically, I help you figure out the best way for you to position yourself as an expert in your field, as a thought leader, how to build credibility through content that is organic. And then further on, once you have that community built around your brand or business or persona, then how do you convert those followers into your customers?
Mm.
And that's what I focus on helping people.
How go deeper into that when it comes to converting your followers into customers, and how, obviously everybody's consuming the content, but not everybody's going to vibe with it. How do you find those
Mhm.
specific people who
Well, it's knowing who your ideal customer is, like, and talk about more about them and what their pain points are versus talking about you and like what your business is great at. It's one of the things. Another thing is being authentic, really. And I think we all know social media could be just a highlight reel of your life that we want to show to people, but really I see, and at least that's who I connect with, is seeing people as they are. And so being funny, being silly, being goofy, like share more about your personal life, like show your dogs, like go and dance, like show your kids, like show your silly self, because we all have that part of us. And we connect with that when we see that. Again, it's being free to express yourself, and you feel free enough to express yourself. And that's how you build connection, build trust, and then eventually they can become your customer after they like and trust you enough.
Well, there's a lot of brands out there that you could tell, oh, that's their real self right there. Where like I feel like in today's day and age with social media, the word authenticity gets thrown around all
I
the
know, and
time.
I
And
wish there was.
there's so many people that say they're authentic and will preach authenticity, but it's like, are you really being authentic?
Yeah, I wish there was another word for that, but I don't know.
Like there are the realists out there, and then there's people that are not who they are when you meet them in person. Like I can't tell you how many people I've met in real life that are like, "Oh, you're a character on your social media account." Both in a good way and a bad way.
Yeah, I mean, it could be beneficial, if that's what, because the thing of social media is you get to control the narrative. Whatever you want the story to be, you get to control that. So, like, what is the intention behind it? What do you want to show? And then go ahead. And if you want to show your best self, then that's fine, because some people might get motivated by it and inspired by it, and that'll benefit them in a good way. But I also really believe that sharing the bad side of things is also good, because people can connect with you on that level. Like, okay, I'm not the only one who's going through this. No, her life is also not that perfect. So those are the things that I feel like would count as being authentic and being real with your people.
Have you ever worked with anybody that you just knew right off the bat, like, I'm not getting your best energy, I'm not getting the best version of you, the real version of you?
Not really.
That's good.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, people want to connect with others. So I haven't really seen somebody who's like, no, I don't want to show that like side of me. Just get to convince them.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you should, because that's your strength, in some ways.
Where do you want to be business wise in the next few years? Like, what's your goal for everything that you're doing right now? Like, what are you building towards?
Hmm. Well, I feel like I am building myself a lot through meeting people and just learning about them, learning about myself. I definitely love helping people to recognize their unconscious patterns and things like that, and help them elevate themselves. I am working on a few info products that not yet ready to discuss, but building out my social media agency, and then actually helping other women do the same. So kind of figure out an extra income for themselves, and just really be the motivation and inspiration to others. So I'm figuring out the business side of things of that. But yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
You can only learn by going through the trenches.
Yes.
Like failing, 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 failing. Oh, jackpot. And then you find it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's difficult. Well, I appreciate you coming in today. You said Vegas isn't your guys' last spot, right? You guys kind of want more green in your lives.
Yeah.
Or like the desert really doesn't offer that.
Yeah. I mean, Vegas is great for networking, as you know, and we've made some great connections here, and we have amazing community of people here too. Also, I mean, this is great. You can just come over here and have great dinner at any moment. But yeah, we just want to explore more and see the rest of the world. Not just America. Yeah, because life is short.
Oh yeah, make the most of it. And you're doing that right now with everything that you got going on. So I'm very happy for you. Where can the people find you on social media? And do you guys have any more Elevate events coming up?
We are. I don't know the details yet, but I'll share my social media, and feel free to DM me, message me, let's connect. And yeah, I'll definitely share more on that later on. But my Instagram is molochinka, Molodchinka. Molodchinka. It's a Russian word. Yeah.
She spelt it out, so it's pretty easy to figure it out from here on out. But thank you so much for coming on the show today. This was episode 618 of the podcast. Guys, remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our channel at Jack O'Hara TV.
Thank you.
Sweet. Did we touch on anything that you did not like in there?